Hi everyone, welcome. Today I want to talk about travel insurance. I am Tiffany with Dream Planning with Tiffany, also with Dream Planning Pros, travel advisors, and people who just want to help you plan amazing vacations. So today, a topic that comes up a lot is whether or not I should insure my trip. And a lot of people get confused by this because they think, I'm going on this trip no matter what, so it doesn't matter, I don't need trip insurance. So I want to talk a little bit about what trip insurance is, what it covers, how it could help you, and to also give you some little tidbits to think about the next time you're planning a trip. So we're going to get into the fact that when you plan a vacation, you are offered trip insurance. This also happens if you buy airline tickets. You always get the option to insure those airline tickets, and this falls within that same category. Trip insurance usually has to be paid in full at the time of purchase. Just like when you pay for your auto insurance, you have to pay 6 months in advance. This is the same thing. You have to pay for it in full. Now, a lot of times you can delay purchasing trip insurance until final payment for your trip package. Sometimes that's 60 days, sometimes it's 45 days, sometimes it's 30 days before your departure. The problem with delaying purchasing travel insurance is that within the first 14 days of you booking your trip, there are a lot of things that will be included and covered with your travel insurance that if you purchase it after that 14-day window, these things are no longer covered. So that's one of the things that you need to be sure and check out and read when you are looking at the policy. And I probably should go ahead and put a disclaimer right here. I am not an insurance agent. I do not sell insurance. I cannot advise you on insurance. I can offer you contact information at the location, whether the vendor, travel provider, what have you, that is offering the insurance to get your questions answered. I can simply highly recommend or suggest a number of times that you look at purchasing travel insurance. And when we get through the rest of this, you'll understand a little bit more, hopefully. But again, I don't have anything to do with the insurance whatsoever. I simply offer it to you as a benefit with your travel and a little bit of a safety net, if you will. So, with that being said, again, you have the travel insurance is available to you, whether it's through the provider or a third party, and it's usually offered when you're booking your package. I offer it a number of different times if it's declined by you. Sometimes I'll have you fill out a waiver because legally I don't want to be held responsible if something happens. You can't go on your trip, the trips change, what have you, and I am not liable because you chose not to insure your trip. So that's usually part of the process. But anyways, the other thing is when you purchase trip insurance, unless you cancel, and this is most policies, not all of them, unless you cancel within the first 10 days and you've not made any claims, you can't get a full refund for the purchase of the insurance. So you have usually a 10-day window, no claims, to decide that you want to cancel the insurance policy. After that, the insurance policy is non-refundable. Even when you make a claim, if you have to cancel your trip for a covered cause, you will get the money back that you've paid for the trip. You will not get back your money for the insurance policy. So if you've paid $150 for an insurance policy for a trip, but you've paid $750 for that trip, and you end up having to cancel for a covered reason, you will get your $750 back. You will not receive the $150 back. So just to be clear about that, the insurance is non-refundable if it's canceled after their lead time. So moving on, you have options to purchase travel insurance through vendors. Vendors being tour operators, such as with the cruise lines. You have Royal Caribbean, Princess, Norwegian, Carnival, Disney. All of these cruise lines offer you insurance for your trip. Then you also have specific tour providers, which these are the ones that I work with, and basically it may be FunJet, it may be American Airlines Vacations, Delta Vacations, it could be Talk, it could be Scenic Cruise Lines. I mean, it could be anything of that nature that does maybe a land and sea package, an entire package for you that includes airline tickets, resort stay, transfers, tours, anything of that nature. And then of course you have your operators that are like the theme parks, Universal, Disney, SeaWorld. All of these all have insurance available for the packages when you book them. I will tell you that you have to be sure and read the fine print of the policy to make sure that it's going to cover what you need. And then as a tour advisor or a travel advisor, I have the option of offering you third-party insurance coverage. Now, these usually cover a little bit more than just what a provider would offer you. It's mainly with a cruise line, it's going to be specific to your cruise. Tour operator may be specific about the things that are within their control as far as the resort, your tours. They may tell you that it excludes any kind of airline problems. So that's why it's very important you read the fine print as to what's included and what's not included. The third-party providers will cover a blanket of the whole package. So they will take care of any missed flights, any canceled flights, any problems with your resort, any issues with your tour provider where they just don't show up and you want your money back. So I mean, those are the things that a third party can provide, and that's Allianz, that's Travel Guard, that's Travel Insured, just a couple of those just to give you an idea that are outside the vendor's listing. And then those are usually available through whomever you work with or through to book your travel. Also, the cost for travel insurance is based on your package cost, what's included in that package, and the number of individuals in that package. And that's because a Disney cruise may be one set price, a Carnival cruise may be a different price for the same amount of people, just based on the different packages and locations in which you're going. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is it's going to be based on your travel party, the actual destinations that you're going to be doing, and the ages. You're going to have 4 adults. It's going to cost you more than 2 adults and 2 kids. So just keep that in mind. And a lot of times you can ask your travel provider. If it's not me, I usually provide it. But if it's not me, you can ask them, do you have a third party that I can compare what's being offered by the vendor? And a lot of times that's really easy to do. We can get a quote for both of them, give you copies of the policy for you to review them and make a decision. We can even give you phone numbers so that you can call them and say, these are the specific questions I have, because I am not going to be able to answer those questions. I have to call for my own trips a lot of times to get my questions answered. So now, again, the travel insurance can usually be added up until the final payment of your package. A little bit of caution there in doing that. Again, some of the things that may have been covered in the first 14 days that you had the travel insurance may not be covered when you purchase it just before your final payment. Things that are considered foreseeable and unforeseeable could be weather-related issues. If you're traveling during hurricane season and you wait until August to buy travel insurance for a trip you're taking in September, they may now exclude any kind of storms that have been found into the Gulf or wherever you're going. And specifically, if a storm has been named, it will not cover any kind of issues with weather. And that's considered, although it's considered an unforeseeable, it is a foreseeable because the storm has been named, so it's foreseeable that storm may hit. Now, if you booked that in April and you chose to add the insurance in the first 14 days, then it's very possible that it would already cover it because at that time it was unforeseeable. And these are some of the little clauses and things like that that you have to kind of pay attention to and follow along. Now, travel insurance, I get this a lot, and I remember the client who said, Well, yeah, we know we're going during hurricane season, but if they're leaving the port, we're going. So we don't need travel insurance. Great. That's fantastic. How you getting there? Because if there's a problem in travel and you miss that ship, you just lost your money. So if you're flying and there's bad weather and you can't get there due to your airlines and you have trip insurance, then you can contact the provider of the trip insurance. And a lot of times there's 24/7 service available to help get you rebooked, to get you a hotel for the night, to get you on another ship, anything of that nature. That's available with trip insurance. If not, then you're going to be sitting there at the mercy of the airline trying to get where you're going. Or you're driving. Okay, you're headed down 75 or 95, you're going, everything's great, you can't wait to get on the boat. Somebody hits you. Your car is no longer able to get you where you need to be. You leave on the ship the next day and you're kind of stranded. That's considered trip interruption. And with travel insurance, it would be covered if you have that policy. So these are things that I always try to stress to clients just to think about. Is it's not necessarily everything that's within your control. Sometimes you have to think what's outside of your control and what will this insurance cover for you. This also goes with medical, okay? And this is a big one. A lot of people are like, I have medical insurance. Great. Now, when you have a party of 4 and God forbid somebody there gets ill and they can't go on the trip, then what? That one person can't go, and do you not want to be there in case there's something happening? But yet you have this trip, so travel insurance will help cover that. Whether you're traveling party, if there's someone in your immediate family that you need to be with, there are policies that will cover such things as this so that you aren't out any kind of money. Another one is travel insurance will cover medical expenses if you have the right policy when you're traveling. And I know, I get it. You have medical insurance. Great. How does that work outside the US? What happens is in most countries, and keep in mind, Bahamas is outside of the US, Jamaica is outside the US, Turks and Caicos is outside of the US. Obviously, Europe is outside the US, and a lot of times they won't take US health cares. That's Medicaid, private company insurance, anything of that nature. These people or these hospitals or doctor's offices work on a cash basis. So that means that if you're out on a tour, you happen to step off the curb wrong, you twist your ankle, it swells up, you need to go see a doctor, you miss the rest of the tour, whoever's with you is with you at the hospital, you're on a cruise, that ship's leaving, and you're waiting at the doctor's office to see what's wrong with your ankle to find out that you actually fractured it and you're going to need surgery to fix it. That ship's leaving, you're still sitting there, and they don't take your insurance. They want $15,000 to perform the surgery to fix your ankle. That's a lot of money to especially come out of pocket when you're on a vacation. Travel insurance will cover this if you have the right policy. Not only that, you just lost your ride. I mean, that ship's leaving. They hate it for you, but they got to move on. So now not only are you stranded with an ankle that needs surgery, but you've got to get back to the US. And believe me, there are stories of people where this has happened and they don't know what to do because they didn't get the travel insurance. They have Medicare, they have Medicaid, they have the insurance provided by their company, but those don't work. So it's very important that you understand before you take a trip what is covered on your insurance policies and what would be a better option for when you're traveling. People have heart attacks every single day. If you're in the middle of an ocean on a cruise and they have to flight you to the nearest continent to get help, who's paying for that life flight? I mean, that's $60, $80, $100,000 that you got to come out of pocket for. The peace of mind of travel insurance is just that, peace of mind. It's no different than car insurance. If you don't use it, it's great to have it. If you don't have it and you need it, this can set you back significantly. So it's just something you want to make sure that you think about and review. Not only does it cover medical emergencies, trip interruption, it covers rental cars, missed connections. It's going to help with travel delays. How many times have you been sitting at the airport and every time your flight's canceled? What happens when you get to your trip, your departure port, wherever you're going? You make it, but your luggage doesn't. What now? Trip insurance will help by having lost luggage replacement. Now, it's necessities that they replace. It's not going to be everything that was in the bag, but it will be necessities for you to continue with your trip. Because, I mean, everybody wants clean underwear, right? Yeah. So they make sure that you can continue on your trip with as little issue as possible, even though you just dealt with some lost luggage. Bad weather, again, foreseeable, unforeseeable, and there's some things that they will and won't cover with foreseeable and unforeseeable. They won't cover civil unrest. They won't cover terrorist attacks, governmental issues, things of that nature are going to be some things that are going to fall outside of a policy that they're going to cover. But that is all part of travel, and that is some things that just can't be controlled, much like an act of God where lightning strikes a tree and it hits your house. There are just some things that will be outside of the clause, and these are some of the things that you have to keep up with and understand. Let's see, they also cover, travel insurance will cover a lot of times your medical transportation, and not only for whomever's hurt, but the traveling party if you all have the travel insurance. Gentleman had a heart attack, had to be medevaced off the ship. His family all left, obviously. They were all upset, and got him back to an island, got him stable. The travel insurance had a private plane with medical staff for he and his family to come back to the U.S. It cost him nothing because he had that travel insurance, and the rest of the traveling party did too. Had it not been covered by that insurance, he wouldn't have left the island until they got their money. Now, a lot of times these travel insurance companies will have 24/7 service, as I stated before. People who can help you at any location you are at. They usually have contacts in different areas so that they can get someone to you to help you. They're always in contact with the individuals who are not injured or who are making the phone call to let you know what's happening, this is what we're doing for you, things of that nature. What else? It's mainly important enough that you review your insurance coverage. And I hear this too. Oh, my credit card has insurance. Okay, what exactly does that mean? Does it mean that they cover the cost of the trip because you used your credit card to pay for that trip? Or does it mean that they will cover any kind of medical issue, any kind of trip interruption, any kind of lost baggage, stolen baggage, damaged baggage? What does that mean? It's best if you actually understand what the coverage is, what it's for, and how that can help you should you need it, and who to contact. Always have those contact information numbers available for you in an emergency situation. Again, travel insurance isn't something I can advise you on. I can give you phone numbers, I can give you websites, I can give you copies of policies to review and to ask questions about. I can get you in contact with the actual insurance companies, what they cover, what they don't cover. But don't fall into the trap of thinking I'm double covering myself, especially with the medical part of it. the best of the best insurances may not be accepted in Greece. It's a different country. They have different ways of doing things. What you want to do as far as medical coverage may not be what they do in Argentina. They do it completely different in the Bahamas, in Jamaica. So if you're going to any of these places, make sure that you double check what you're doing, what you have, and the possibilities of what you need. And I know you're young, everything's great, you're not going to have any problems until you maybe twist that ankle stepping off the corner like I stated before. Or maybe you have an accident on an ATV that you're going through the rainforest on. Maybe it's something stupid and you slip and you fracture your wrist. I mean, it can be anything that may not be something that you're planning that happens can be covered by travel insurance. And it's always highly recommended and suggested. And, you know, if you work with me, I'm going to give you that information at the beginning. If you decline it, I'm going to have you sign a waiver. I will also then remind you that you still have the option of adding it as we lead up to your final payment, just so that you have the extra satisfactory of knowing you're covered. I hate to think that you're taking that amazing theme park trip and somebody has a heat stroke because you're there in the middle of summer. And yes, in the US, yes, you have coverage, but then you've just lost all your time at Disney or Universal or SeaWorld. Then what? Trip insurance will help you with that. I mean, it's not always up to the vendor to take care of you if something happens to you while you're there on their property. Case in point, as horrible as this is to talk about, but there was a helicopter that went down in Hawaii back in April. Just recently, there are 3 planes that have gone down in Alaska. It's horrifying, and I don't want to think about anything like that happening to any of my clients. But God forbid if it had, they had travel insurance. At least the people that were still on the ship that were part of that party would have the benefit of getting home and knowing they didn't have to worry about it. They can make a phone call, get it taken care of, and come home. Because I guarantee you, Princess isn't taking responsibility for that. And that airline company, the tour company, isn't going to do anything because that's going to be admitting fault. So unfortunately, these people are going to be hanging out on their own. Yes, there's going to be lawsuits, absolutely. But in the interim, what do people do? And these are things that we need to think about. Things that are outside of our control, things that we can try to put a little bit more control on at the time that we're making the plans for our trips. And that's simply something to think about. The reason I want to have this conversation and hopefully get a little dialogue going with clients in the future. If you have any questions about trip insurance, please let me know. I can only answer what I know. What I don't know, I can send you to the people who do know. Thank you for joining me today. Hopefully you learned a little bit. Maybe you'll look at those policies a little bit closer and realize that maybe a little bit extra expense for your trip isn't that much more for the peace of mind of knowing that you're going to be taken care of if something happens. So please reach out if you have any questions or anything. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye-bye.